Your insurance company just told you your vehicle is a total loss. Now what? Can you negotiate? How do they decide what it's worth? And are they actually offering you a fair settlement? Today, I'm going to answer those questions and explain exactly what happens behind the scenes. Welcome to Claims Confidential. My name is Ryan, and I've spent the last 5 years working as an auto claims adjuster, handling everything from minor fender benders to total losses and complex commercial claims. I've seen firsthand where people get confused, where costly mistakes happen, and how the claims process really works. This channel is here to help you better understand insurance so you can make informed decisions if you're ever involved in an accident. Everything I'll share is for general education purposes only. Every policy, claim, and situation is different, so this isn't legal or insurance advice specific to your circumstances. So let's start with one of the most common questions I hear. What does it actually mean when your car is declared a total loss? One of the biggest misconceptions I hear is that a total loss means the vehicle has been completely destroyed. That's simply not true. In the insurance world, a total loss is usually an economic decision, not necessarily a reflection of how badly the vehicle looks after the accident. I've seen vehicles with what looked like relatively minor front-end damage end up being written off. On the other hand, I've seen vehicles with significant-looking damage repaired because the numbers made sense. The insurance company looks at one simple question: does it make financial sense to repair this vehicle? If the answer is no, it's declared a total loss. Now, every province or state and every insurer has different rules and thresholds, so I'm speaking in general terms here. Typically, the decision is based on the cost of repairs compared to the vehicle's value before the accident, along with factors like salvage value and the possibility of hidden damage. Modern vehicles are incredibly expensive to repair. It's not just bumpers and headlights anymore. It's not just mechanical. There's a lot of electrical. Many vehicles have cameras, radar sensors, lane departure systems, adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, parking sensors, and dozens of computers that all have to work together. Sometimes replacing one damaged bumper also means replacing sensors, recalibrating safety systems, repainting components, and performing specialized inspections. Those costs add up very quickly. So how does insurance decide what your car is worth? This is probably the question I get asked the most. People often say, but I paid, for example, $32,000 for my vehicle, or I still owe $28,000. Unfortunately, neither of those numbers determines what the insurance company pays. In most standard policies, the settlement is based on something called actual cash value, otherwise known as ACV. Think of it this way. If you had decided to sell your vehicle the day before the accident, what could you reasonably expect someone to pay for it? That's essentially what the insurer is trying to determine. To do that, they look at things like the year, make, model, trim level, mileage, condition before the accident, factory options, and recent sales of similar vehicles in your local market. Notice I said sales, not necessarily asking prices. Dealer advertisements are useful, but asking prices are only part of the picture. Vehicles often sell for less than what's listed. If your vehicle has unusually low mileage, excellent maintenance records, or valuable factory options, those things may increase its value. Likewise, previous damage, excessive wear, or high mileage may reduce it. Now, let's talk about the part that creates the most frustration. You receive the valuation report. You look at the number. And your first reaction is usually going to be, there's no way my car was only worth that. Sometimes the valuation is perfectly reasonable. Sometimes it isn't. Remember, Valuation reports are prepared using data, and data isn't always perfect. Maybe your trim level was entered incorrectly. Maybe the report missed your upgraded wheels. Maybe it didn't include your factory navigation package. Maybe the mileage is wrong. These things happen. That's why I always encourage people to actually read the valuation report. Don't just look at the dollar amount. Look at the details. Ask yourself, is this actually my vehicle? Does it list the correct trim? Are the options accurate? Is the mileage accurate? Were comparable vehicles chosen that actually resemble mine? If something is incorrect, politely point it out. Supporting documentation like maintenance records, purchase paperwork, option lists, or comparable vehicles can help clarify that discussion as well. So what happens next? So once your vehicle is officially declared a total loss, your adjuster will typically explain the settlement process. If you own the vehicle outright, the settlement is generally paid directly to you once the paperwork is complete. For example, if you're one of my clients and we have a total loss, I run a lien check. If there's no lien attached, I will offer to pay that directly to you, either via check or via electronic funds transfer, EFT, directly to your bank account. If there's a loan on the vehicle, things work a little differently. Usually the lender is paid first because they have a financial interest in the vehicle. If there's money left over after the loan is paid off, that balance comes to you. But sometimes people owe more than the vehicle is worth. This is called negative equity. For example, maybe you financed the vehicle with very little money down. Maybe it's only a year old and it has depreciated quickly. Maybe you rolled an old loan into the new vehicle. If your loan balance is higher than the insurance settlement, you're generally responsible for the difference unless you have coverage such as gap insurance. I'll actually be doing an entire episode explaining gap insurance because it's one of the most misunderstood coverages out there. Another question I hear all the time, can I negotiate? The answer is sometimes. You're not negotiating the value because you simply want more money. You're discussing whether the information used to determine the value is accurate. If your report contains mistakes, correct them. If important options are missing, mention them. If comparable vehicles don't really compare to yours, ask questions. A respectful conversation backed by documentation is much more productive than simply saying, I think it's worth more. Remember, your adjuster wants the valuation to be accurate too. So why are more cars being totaled today? This surprises a lot of people. So vehicles are being written off more often today than they were 20 years ago. Why? Because vehicles have become incredibly sophisticated. A minor collision that once required a bumper replacement might now require radar calibration, camera calibration, parking sensor replacement, wiring repairs, multiple scans of onboard computers. Labor costs have significantly increased. Parts have become much more expensive. Some parts are back-ordered. Rental costs continue while repairs are delayed. When all those costs are added together, repairing the vehicle simply may not make financial sense anymore. Having your vehicle declared a total loss can feel overwhelming. For many people, it's their biggest financial asset outside of their home. It's completely understandable to have questions or even feel frustrated. The best thing you can do is stay informed. Review your paperwork carefully, ask respectful questions, and understand how the process works. Knowledge really is your biggest advantage during a claim. If this video helped you better understand what happens when a vehicle is declared a total loss, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. My goal with Claims Confidential is simple: to pull back the curtain on the insurance claims process and help everyday drivers understand what really happens behind the scenes. If you have a question you'd like me to answer in a future episode, please leave it in the comments. There's a good chance it'll become an upcoming video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.